Sometimes interviewers are just plain rude, pushing celebrities to their breaking point. But not all celebrities take it lying down. Some fire back with witty comebacks, others shut down the conversation entirely, and a few even turn the tables on their interrogators. For example, when Quentin Tarantino famously shut down a Channel 4 news interviewer for asking a tired, repetitive question about violence in his films. Tarantino, never one to mince words, bluntly answered the interviewer. Tarantino's frustration stemmed from being asked the same question about the link between movie violence and real-life violence throughout his career.
And is that why you think people like watching violent movies? People who are not violent people, or twisted people in any way, but why it's okay to go into a movie?
He had addressed this issue numerous times before and felt the interviewer was trying to provoke a reaction rather than engage in a meaningful discussion.
I'm going to tell you why I'm so sure. Don't ask me a question like that. I'm not biting. I refuse your question.
Why?
Because I refuse your question. I'm not your slave and you're not my master. You can't make me dance to your tune. I'm not a monkey.
I can't make you answer anything. I'm asking you interesting questions.
And I'm saying I refuse.
This wasn't the first time Tarantino had clashed with the press, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. His interviews are often as unpredictable and entertaining as his films, and he's never been one to shy away from confrontation. But in this instance, his refusal to play the media's game resonated with many who felt he was justified in pushing back against a lazy and irrelevant line of questioning. Much like Tarantino, Morgan Freeman also had a memorable encounter with an interviewer who seemed to miss the mark. When a 60 Minutes host questioned the relevance of Black History Month, Freeman didn't hold back.
History Month you find
ridiculous.
Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month?
You're going to relegate my history to a month? He countered, his voice laced with incredulity. Freeman eloquently argued that Black history is American history, and segregating it into a single month diminishes its importance.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism until...
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman. You want to say what
and perpetuates the very divisions it seeks to overcome. He then turned the tables on the interviewer. The interviewer, caught off guard, had no response. Freeman's simple yet powerful question exposed the inherent bias in singling out one race's history for special recognition. He deftly illustrated the absurdity of the situation, leaving the interviewer speechless and shifting the entire dynamic of the conversation. Freeman's response was not just a rejection of the interviewer's premise, but a call for a more inclusive understanding of history. He challenged the notion that race should be the defining factor in how we acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of different groups to society. His words resonated with many who believe that true equality means recognizing the interconnectedness of all our histories. Just as Morgan Freeman challenged the interviewer's assumptions, Tom Cruise also found himself having to defend his personal life when an interviewer pressed him about his divorce from Nicole Kidman.
Was Nicole the love of your life?
What do you mean, Peter?
Despite the intrusive nature of the questions, Cruise maintained his composure, firmly but politely asserting his boundaries.
You were married for 10 years.
Listen, we raised children. I mean, how do you answer that? How do you answer that question? She's someone that I plan on getting married again.
He stated it calmly, making it clear that he wouldn't tolerate any further prying into his personal affairs.
And having kids?
Absolutely.
But Nicole was a major part of your life and a love of your life at the time.
I loved Nick very much. There's no question.
Would you like Nicole to remarry?
Yes. I want Nicole to be happy.
Cruise's reaction to the interviewer's prying questions about his past relationship with Nicole Kidman was a mix of controlled frustration and polite firmness. He initially tried to deflect the questions, emphasizing their shared responsibility in raising their children. However, as the interviewer persisted, Cruise became more assertive, stating, "Listen, here's the thing, you're stepping over the line now."
And do you have a relationship where you talk, it's a parenting relationship, and talk professionally about each other's work?
Listen, here's the thing, Peter.
Yeah.
You're stepping over a line now. You're stepping over a line. You know you are.
I suppose they're questions though, that people want to know.
Peter, you want to know. Take responsibility for what you want to know. Don't say what other people. This is a conversation that I'm having with you right now.
You're right.
Okay, so I'm just telling you right now, okay? Just put your manners back in.
He didn't raise his voice or resort to insults, but his message was clear. He was drawing a boundary and expecting the interviewer to respect it. When the interviewer tried to justify his intrusive questions by claiming that people want to know, Cruise retorted. He refused to let the interviewer hide behind a veil of public curiosity, forcing him to own his line of questioning. Cruise's response was a masterclass in setting boundaries without being overtly aggressive. He maintained his composure while making it clear that he wouldn't be exploited for the sake of sensationalism. His insistence on respect and accountability resonated with many who have witnessed celebrities being subjected to intrusive and inappropriate questions in the name of entertainment. While Tom Cruise drew a line in the sand with quiet determination, Matthew McConaughey took a different approach when confronted with an assumption about his political stance. During an appearance on The View, he was asked about his potential run for office in Texas, with the interviewer questioning if his anti-gun stance would hinder his chances.
Do you think political office is in your future? Can you see that?
If it's where I would deem myself to be most useful?
Yeah.
Yes.
McConaughey, known for his thoughtful and deliberate demeanor, didn't shy away from addressing the loaded question.
Do you think you would get elected in Texas being anti-gun?
Do I think I could get elected in Texas being anti-gun? One thing about if me in politics is to give you a direct statement right there is playing a game that I'm not interested in playing. To give you a direct statement right there.
McConaughey, with his characteristic Texan drawl and laid-back charm, paused for a moment before responding. His response was polite, but at the same time a refusal to be drawn into a simplistic and potentially divisive debate. He recognized that the interviewer was attempting to pigeonhole him into a particular stance, and he wasn't going to fall for it. McConaughey's refusal to play the game was refreshing. He demonstrated that it's possible to engage in a political discussion without resorting to sound bites or inflammatory rhetoric. He chose to focus on the complexities of the issue, acknowledging the need for responsible gun ownership and sensible regulations. His nuanced approach stood in stark contrast to the often polarizing nature of gun control debates in the media. McConaughey's appearance on The View highlighted his ability to navigate challenging conversations with grace and authenticity. He refused to be defined by others' expectations or labels, choosing instead to express his views in a thoughtful and measured manner. His actions served as a reminder that it's possible to engage in meaningful dialogue even on sensitive topics, as long as there is a willingness to listen and respect differing perspectives. While Matthew McConaughey skillfully sidestepped a potentially contentious political debate, Lindsay Lohan found herself facing a different kind of challenge during an interview with David Letterman. The actress was appearing on the show to promote her upcoming movie, was subjected to a barrage of insensitive and mocking questions about her personal and legal troubles.
Aren't you supposed to be in rehab now?
Do you not watch anything that goes on?
I do.
Tabloid now?
Now here's what
May 2nd.
I was under the May 2nd.
Yes.
And how long will you be in rehab?
3 months.
Despite the humiliating nature of the interview, Lohan bravely attempted to maintain her composure, desperately trying to steer the conversation back to her work. However, Letterman's relentless pursuit of cheap laughs at her expense made it an uphill battle. Lohan's interview with David Letterman was a painful example of how the media can exploit a celebrity's vulnerability for the sake of entertainment.
How many times have you been in rehab?
Several.
And how will this time be different? What are they rehabbing, first of all? What is on their list? What are they going to work on when you walk through the door?
Letterman's relentless focus on Lohan's struggles with addiction and rehab created an uncomfortable and humiliating atmosphere.
We didn't discuss this in the pre-interview.
No, but it'll be 3 months, and
no, I think to be honest, I'm the happiest when I'm working and the healthiest, and I think this is an opportunity for me to, focus on what I love in life, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a blessing. And
despite her attempts to steer the conversation back to her work, Letterman persisted with his intrusive questions, often to the amusement of the audience. Lohan's discomfort was palpable.
Is it like alcohol? Do you drink too much?
We've discussed this in the past.
She repeatedly tried to deflect the questions, stating that rehab was not a topic discussed in the pre-interview, and emphasizing her desire to focus on the positive aspects of her life. However, Letterman's refusal to respect her boundaries and his insistence on making light of her situation turned the interview into a public spectacle. The resurfaced interview sparked widespread criticism of Letterman's insensitive and disrespectful behavior. Many viewers expressed their support for Lohan, acknowledging her strength and resilience in the face of such public scrutiny. While Lindsay Lohan endured a humiliating interview with David Letterman, UFC President Dana White found himself similarly incensed after facing a disrespectful question during a press conference.
Dana, I just want to go back. You were talking about, you obviously give a long leash to your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with the UFC microphone, and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Is there...
I don't give anybody a leash.
When asked about his handling of a fighter's controversial remarks, White was quick to defend the fighter's right to free speech, emphasizing that he doesn't give anybody a leash. White's response was not simply a defense of free speech, but a firm rejection of the idea that he should police his fighters' opinions.
Well, I'm saying you...
A leash?
Free
speech. Control what people say? Gonna tell people what to believe? Gonna tell people... I don't fucking tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them.
He emphasized that he doesn't tell anyone what to say or believe, and he extended that freedom to his fighters as well.
What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on, though.
Yeah, probably a good idea. That's ridiculous to say I give somebody a leash. Free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want, and they can believe whatever they want. And I don't think there's any... We had two gay women who fought in the co-main event. They sat on the stage with Sean Strickland. They could give a shit what Sean Strickland thinks, or what he says, or what his beliefs are, or what his opinions are.
He highlighted the diversity within the UFC, pointing out that two gay women had fought in a recent co-main event and shared the stage with Strickland without issue. White's stance on free speech sparked a debate about the limits of expression, particularly in a sport where aggression and confrontation are central. Some argued that the UFC has a responsibility to promote inclusivity and discourage hateful rhetoric. Others supported White's position, emphasizing the importance of allowing individuals to express their views, even if those views are unpopular or offensive. His comments sparked a debate about the limits of free speech and the responsibility that comes with having a platform. While some supported White's unwavering defense of free speech, others argued that there should be consequences for hate speech and that platforms like the UFC have a duty to promote inclusivity and respect. Just as Dana White fiercely defended free speech in the face of controversy, Jonah Hill responded to mockery with a mix of humor and self-awareness. During an interview with Jimmy Kimmel, Hill was caught off guard by a comment about his scent, which he initially perceived as a backhanded compliment. However, instead of getting defensive or angry, Hill chose to address the awkward moment with a lighthearted joke. Sadly, Jonah Hill's rise to fame was accompanied by a relentless barrage of mockery and criticism about his weight. From the very beginning of his career, he was often portrayed as the fat guy in Hollywood, with the media frequently using unflattering photos and making insensitive jokes at his expense. Interviewers would ask him demeaning questions, implying that his weight was the sole source of his comedic talent.
Jonah, do you think it's important to be unattractive to be funny? you're the fat guy in Hollywood still, or is everybody like look at you and they're like, oh wow, you know, this is great, now you're healthy?
Do you have any other questions that are smart?
This constant scrutiny took a toll on Hill's self-esteem, making him question his worth and talent. Even after achieving success and starring alongside acclaimed actors like Brad Pitt, he still couldn't escape the media's obsession with his appearance. But when Jimmy Kimmel did the same, Jonah Hill had enough with this mockery.
First of all, you smell good, which is surprising.
Why is that surprising?
I don't know. I just wouldn't think of a guy who would have a nice scent on, and it
That's such a like. I'm gonna really work hard to not take that as a shot. You know what I mean? Like, because I think you would smell nice.
No, but I don't have.
Let's dissect that. No. Let's go back.
Okay, let's go back. Yeah.
Hill's ability to laugh at himself and deflect the awkwardness with humor showcased his emotional maturity and self-assurance. He even playfully suggested dissecting the comment, turning the potentially uncomfortable moment into a lighthearted exchange. Hill's response was a far cry from his past reactions to comments about his body, demonstrating his growth and resilience. Hill's newfound confidence and self-acceptance were evident in his handling of the situation. He acknowledged his past insecurities while refusing to let them define him. His willingness to address the comment with humor rather than anger or defensiveness showed his strength and maturity. Hill's response resonated with many who've experienced similar situations. His ability to turn a potentially awkward moment into a lighthearted exchange served as an example of how to handle uncomfortable comments with grace and humor. Hill's actions demonstrated that it's possible to acknowledge one's insecurities without letting them dictate one's reactions. These instances of celebrities shutting down disrespectful interviewers highlight the importance of setting boundaries and demanding respect, even in the face of public scrutiny. Whether through witty comebacks, assertive refusals, or turning the tables on their interrogators, these celebrities have shown that they won't be bullied or exploited for the sake of entertainment. Their actions serve as a reminder that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their fame or status. If you liked this deep dive, then subscribe to Past Famous for more exciting stories on the who are and has-beens of Hollywood.